Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review the new documentary, Girls' State, from A24 and Apple TV+, and this is from directors Amanda McBain and Jesse Moss, as this focuses on 500 adolescent young women who come together in Missouri for this program, which is Girls' State. Previously, A24 and Apple took on Boys' State, which is the male version of this, and that was one of the most impactful, shocking documentaries of recent memory because it was like this petri dish of young adolescent men and what was breeding into our present political landscape. And this particular film goes in the same direction. It's focusing on the comparable program, but what this film quickly and resoundingly shows is they're same but different and not equal. And this film does show a lot of the different expectations, the different situation, the uneven funding for these two programs, and where a lot of the male students who are going, these young adolescents going through their program where they're like deeply getting into political debates and everything, there's a different kind of expectation for the young women, and it's not lost upon these young women who feel like they're being constrained and not being allowed the same that same experience as their male counterparts. And there's a contention there. There's tension there. And this film is able to capture that in a very organic way. Everything about this film is so organic and authentic. From capturing how inauthentic politics can be, as we get the behind the scenes, we get to connect with this specific group of young women from various backgrounds, from various political perspectives. You have the young non-white women, you have a young woman of color who's struggling and she doesn't feel like she can be comfortable getting in front of people. The young black woman who has this perspective and understanding that, hey, I might be the first black person any of these young white women have ever interacted with. And those kinds of perspectives everything is a microcosm of the American political system and just American society in general. And that's what's so impactful about these films. And the fact that this echoes the overall structural issues and disconnect between men and women in America is just reinforcing of the greater problem. And what's so impressive about this film and say this program is being able to capture that. It's interesting in the way that young conservative women try to navigate their own beliefs and how far they should express them. There's a hesitance in terms of especially the different contexts of like being a conservative man is being different than a conservative woman, because there's this the perspective of women's rights is so deeply rooted in more liberal ideology. It's like that contention of like, hey, why are you going against all other women in terms of these beliefs? And you have good-hearted debates and interesting conversations throughout this film between these young women. And it is civil. They're able to have these kinds of conversations, but to what extent they feel like they have to self-regulate themselves. And you're getting that from these young women, and you get to feel that experience of having them talk about it and being open and honest about that kind of experience and the expectation that they have to do that in the first place. This film is engaging, it is well constructed, all building up to them creating their own Supreme Court, taking on cases around abortion. And what's crazy is this film took place only 6 days, like the week before Roe v. Wade was overturned. They saw this issue coming and had these young women process it, and it's such an interesting way of engaging in this conversation, all completely from a diverse female perspective. It's something that's quite impactful and engaging. I don't know if this quite gets as hard and biting and like existentially freaking me out like Boys' State did, but that might also be a reflection of the own limitations of this program versus the male version of it. And that's even more interesting conversation to have coming out of it. This is such a well put together and engaging documentary that really takes you behind the curtain and helps you connect with the younger generation and how these big issues are reflecting in this group from a very specific state in Missouri that is deeper in the South and might have more conservative and religious connection than other states. And say, like, if I watch a documentary about Girl State, New Jersey, it might be very, very different from that. But this is such an engaging and an interesting and thought-provoking experience. Certainly worth your time over on Apple TV+. But those are my thoughts on Girl State. Let me know what you think and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.